You are listening to Housekeepers Chat by the United States Department of Agriculture from 1927. Disclaimer: this is read from a historic archive document. Do not assume content reflects current scientific knowledge, policies, or practices. This broadcast was aired on the 25th of February in 1927.
Meal planning is the subject of today's chat. All information approved by the United States Bureau of Home Economics.
During the next 3 minutes while I'm getting started, I wish everyone interested in meal planning would find a pencil and a piece of paper. I'll tell you why in a minute. My inspiration for today's program is a letter from Iowa. I should like to know, writes my radio friend, what you would do if you were confronted with the task of planning 7 dinners from 5 or 6 staple foods, for instance, pork, potatoes, cabbage, apples, milk, and bread and butter. Can anybody prepare 7 well-balanced, attractive, and different meals from pork, potatoes, cabbage, apples, milk, and bread and butter? I will listen in Friday for the answer. It is Friday, and I shall attempt to answer the question. First, let's write down, everybody, the foods we are dealing with. Pork, potatoes, cabbage, apples, milk, and bread and butter. That's not a bad list. In fact, I think we can plan 7 pretty good meals from these foods. Not that any of us would want to be limited to pork, potatoes, cabbage, apples, and so forth, but if we were, I think we could plan a series of dinners which wouldn't be monotonous. What we need now is imagination. We must visualize these 7 meals so they will not resemble each other. As everybody knows, there are 2 ways of obtaining variety in meals. First, by using different food materials, and second, by using different methods of preparing the same food materials. The first is fairly easy. Haven't you said time and again of some woman you know, well, of course she can cook. She has everything she wants to cook. The second way of obtaining variety in meals by using different methods of preparation is not so easy as the first, but it presents a much more interesting problem, I think. Before we plan these 7 meals, let me read you a paragraph on meal planning that I've been wanting to read for a long time. Here it is. Foods, like notes of music, can be arranged to make many different harmonious combinations. Too many times, meal planning is not taken seriously enough, and too often it is thought that this important work can be satisfactorily handled by someone who is mentally unable to handle any other job. Inferior people can be trained to do the necessary cooking, but the planning of balanced meals takes intelligence and is of too much consequence to be relegated to just anyone who can conveniently assume the responsibility. It is not enough that a sufficient amount of food is gotten on the table 3 times a day. Each meal should appeal to those who are there, should be eaten in its entirety, and should not only satisfy the appetite, but should supply nourishment in the proper amounts, if it is to be complete. Simple, well-planned meals are in better taste than intricate ones, which have no special plan. Much labor and time is saved when a housewife plans her meals so that they are effective without being elaborate. The additions of extra foods such as jellies, jams, and pickles add only expense to an already complete meal. If they are to be used, they should be definite additions, planned to augment the color, flavor, or texture, never added just because it is convenient to put them on the table. Make meals interesting by rearranging the foods which are seasonable, inexpensive, and popular with those you are feeding. Think of meal planning as a science which needs your best efforts and yields large returns for the time and thought spent on it. Now, using your imaginations, your pencils, and your paper, let's see what we can do with pork, potatoes, cabbage, apples, milk, and bread and butter. Make a list of the menus, please, so you can compare the various methods of preparing each food. How's this for menu number 1? Spare ribs, sauerkraut, baked potatoes, cornbread and butter, brown Betty with cream. Menu number 2, roast pork, browned potatoes, baking powder, biscuits and butter, hot slaw apple snow with custard sauce. Menu number 3, pork tenderloin, riced potatoes, cabbage with French dressing, apple jelly, graham muffins, and butter. Menu number 4, pork pie, mashed potatoes, cabbage salad with peppers, bread and butter, baked apples with raisins. Menu number 5, boiled ham, scalloped potatoes, quick-cooked cabbage, whole wheat bread and butter, applesauce. Menu number 6, cold sliced ham, creamed potatoes, fried cabbage, graham bread and butter, apple tapioca. Menu number 7, pork loaf, creamed cabbage, French fried potatoes, white muffins and butter, apple dumplings. That's 7, is it not? Just to show you what can be done when you set your mind to it, I'll give you another menu. Potato soup, bacon and fried apples, cornmeal muffins and butter, and a salad of peppers stuffed with cabbage. Use any beverage desired with these meals. Look at your list of menus now. Take potatoes. Prepared in 7 different ways: baked, browned, diced, mashed, scalloped, creamed, French fried, and potato soup. If we were planning more meals, we might have stuffed potatoes, fried potatoes, potatoes with cheese, plain boiled potatoes, parsley butter potatoes, and 30 or 40 other kinds of potatoes if we had time to list them all. Now take the apples. We have used apples in 7 ways: brown Betty with cream, apple snow with custard sauce, apple jelly, baked apples with raisins, applesauce, apple tapioca, apple dumplings, fried apples, and bacon. See how easy it is? Look at the various forms of bread: cornbread, baking powder biscuits, graham muffins, white bread, graham bread, white muffins, cornmeal muffins, not to mention nut bread, raisin bread, Parker House rolls, and cinnamon rolls. Remember, I'm not advising anyone to use the same foods in her meals week after week. But when only certain foods are available, it's up to the housewife to do the best she can with what she has. 2 or perhaps 3 of these meals could be served in a week, and the family would probably not realize that the same types of food were being served. Fortunately, most of us are not limited to 5 or 6 foods. We have a variety of meats: pork, beef, veal, mutton, lamb, poultry, fish, and game. We don't have to depend on Irish potatoes and cabbage when there are other vegetables on the market: sweet potatoes, celery, lettuce, onions, spinach, cauliflower, asparagus, beans, peas, etc. We need not eat apples every day when oranges, grapefruit, canned and dried fruits are obtainable. But you see what can be done with 5 or 6 common foods. As a matter of fact, our grandmothers, if they were among the early settlers, probably prepared a good many meals with less than 5 or 6 types of food. Now, suppose that you have in the house, besides such staple articles as flour, butter, eggs, cornstarch, sugar, and so forth, the following 8 foods: bound steak, rice, canned tomatoes, canned string beans, canned peaches, milk, lettuce, and cocoa. In my kitchen cabinet, I have 12 different menus made from these same foods. I'll repeat the list so you'll be sure to get them: steak, rice, canned tomatoes, canned string beans, canned peaches, milk, lettuce, and cocoa. Don't you get tired of having me plan your meals? I thought so. Here's a chance for you to plan your own dinner for tomorrow or Sunday using the foods I've mentioned in any combination you please. Plan a few menus on paper first, then prepare the one which will appeal to your family. I wish it were possible for me to find out all the different menus which can be made from these foods. We'd probably have at least 100 good menus instead of a dozen. If you plan a menu which your family praises highly, let me know what you prepared so I can broadcast it. So I can broadcast the menu. Planning meals is likely to become a worrisome task in the season between winter and summer, unless we housewives exercise our ingenuity and our imaginations. If you are in dead earnest about this business of planning meals and will write me about it, I'll send you some bulletins which will help you. And the radio cookbook is available to all regular listeners of this show. Next Monday, I shall give you another menu and a recipe for Swiss steak.
This broadcast was researched and produced by BreakAway Empire LLC.